Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Psycho Gold. This is Psycho Gold Videos. Well, actually that's a mic, but this is Psycho Gold Videos. Today we're going to be watching Dororo episode 4. I am uberly excited to check this out. I'm absolutely loving the Dororo series. I'm also very interested in the fact that there seems to be a debate going on in the anime community right now as to what series in the currently airing anime has the best opening, both in terms of the opening itself and the OST. Now, for me, I think it's definitely between Dororo and Promised Neverland, though I actually really do like the opening for Shield Hero as well, but I think, for me, Dororo wins this. Now, I'm not going to make this a big thing, so if you want me to do a separate video on why I think that, feel free to let me know. But if people were wondering, because I have been asked, you know, what do I think? Dororo wins, hands down for me. It has a great OST. The editing and the composition of its opening sequence is just beautiful. I really like all of the opening, even, you know, Mob Psycho 100 Season 2 is still great. I still love the opening to Slime. I don't think there's a bad opening in any of them, which is very unusual. So yeah, that's my take on the whole what OST stroke opening is best. Last time we had a flashback episode, so I'm hoping that this episode is going to advance the plot forward in the present day. We got a bit of a backstory on what exactly is going on, and now Hyakkimaru, which I think is right. I probably should have looked it up before I said that, but I'm gonna stick with it and hope I'm right. Now has his nervous system back, which means he can now feel for the first time in, you know, his memory. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he deals with this new sensation and, well, many sensations that he's going to have for the first time. So without further ado, let's rev up the bikes and check it out. 3, 2, 1, go! Oh, and as a heads up, my microphone settings are different to normal, so I might be louder, and background noise and ambience noise might be louder as well, for which I apologize if they are. Please let me know if it's too much. Obviously, I'll tone it down for the next episode. Oh. Okay. Someone's been on a Shibari course. I think they may have lost their duel. Do you know what I just thought while watching this opening? The story of the cursed sword. That wasn't it. All I could think was then, how awesome would it be if the studio that made this anime could make a Samurai Jack anime? As much as I love the Samurai Jack animation style by Totsuki, I think the studio could make an excellent Jack anime. Yeah, I'm with you, kid. What? But if he hasn't got his hearing back, how can he be listening to the rain? More like experiencing the rain. Oh. Oh. Uh-oh. Dororo's already gone. No, not Dororo. What am I talking about? Hyakkimaru's already gone. Oh, it looks like the priest isn't going to be part of this anymore. Oh! The cursed sword? And off comes his arm. There we go. Oh man, the rain and the sound in this one. Oh, it's amazing. This is a famous sword, right? Japanese, history nuts. I'm sure this is a Japanese I don't mean a historical blade, but you know what I mean? A fictional historical blade. Like, I think this blade is in some sort of Japanese supernatural history. Just, oh, the animation on this show is so beautiful. It's like watching an old school, you know, black and white samurai film. It's great. There's a demon in that blade, but not as quick as mine. Interesting. That ain't gonna work. There are some advantages to not having all your limbs. Oh! Okay. That's her brother! What? So Dororo now has the sword. Her brother was the previous wielder of the sword. And probably doesn't have any, you know, well, I was going to say control over his actions, but we know he didn't, but I'm slightly worried about what's going to happen now he's awake. Ah, okay, so it doesn't take direct control in inverted commas as such, like Dororo's able to fight it. Yeah, he is the danger. Dororo has strong mental acuity. Or not. Oh, it's him! That we saw at the beginning. When he decapitated that bound dude. He ain't the same person as when he left. That does sound like a typical kid thing to do. Just stop instantly and stare at the new shiny thing. But he's not. Yeah. His brain is not there. I mean, he could disarm Dororo without injuring him, right? If he double crosses us. Oh. So they hadn't even... Oh my lord, they're not even their enemies. That lord... Oh my god, they were their employees, for want of a better phrase. Alright, we saw this, but now it's making more sense. I could definitely see now why he was struggling. Oh, dude. Rusty and dull. Oh, that's like the worst way to kill someone. Yeah. Oh, that's needlessly painful and bloody and... Ah. So they're defenseless and can't fight back, and he's gonna kill all of them. Okay. Which in turn is going to activate the curse on the sword. Yeah. So the sword is called Nihiro. Okay. See, that bit I can get behind. It's just a shame he didn't do that before. Oh my god. He wiped everybody out. Oh damn, this is an emotional episode, man. I mean, what just happened in the past? What's happening with her? So that's why she doesn't live like that anymore, because with just her, she couldn't hold on to it. Did he make a crane before he left? Look behind you. There's 2 cranes on the side now. He might not make that same mistake again, dude. It's also interesting that he's only single-wielding. Like, normally he uses 2 swords in either arm. Yep. He made another crane for you. Some part of him is still in there, but I think he knows he's way too far gone. There we go. Out comes the second blade. And I think that might be it. Yeah. Oh, he broke the sword. And it's gone rusted right back over instantly. So, the curse was broken when he broke the sword? His ears have come back. Oh god, he's being assaulted by the ability to hear. So, hang on, wait. The cursed sword was somehow one of the demons that had stolen from him? Oh, so he's looking for the midwife to try and figure out how he's worked out maybe that it's his first son that is doing this, maybe? Wow. Oh, there's an after credits sequence. Okay. There's the 2 cranes. Or is that literally it? Yeah. Nihiru. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That was Dororo episode 3. I had to take a little bit of a break between finishing it and coming back to do the review as my partner just got back. Normally I try to do the reaction straight after the review so that the emotions are still there, but yeah, that was like 15-20 minutes ago, so gonna have to try and rewind my brain a little bit. I really enjoyed this episode. There's so much to love about Dororo. The sound design in particular, I've got to give a shout out to those guys, because the sound of the rain throughout the entire episode, I don't think it ever went away, and it was just so well executed. This constant sound of rain, and it just sounded, especially wearing headphones, like it was actually raining around me. And it takes a very good sound guy to get that kind of effect. Like the balancing between the rain, the wind, the sound of people running, the blood spatter, the swords clanging together. You know, every single moment of this show, in my opinion, is crafted masterpiece of old school samurai work, and I absolutely love it. Combined with the fact that obviously we get very little dialogue when combat begins because Hyakkimaru can't talk, but obviously this time we had an opponent with a sword who could kind of talk back. He didn't speak that much, but he did give a little bit more kind of dramatic emphasis to the moment-to-moment fighting, especially when his eyes light up and he's like, "Ah, I see you're like me. You have a demon in your blade too, but mine is quicker." And it's kind of like, yeah, I don't think so. But it was nice to see somebody that, you know, Hyakkimaru didn't immediately take down within a few seconds of clashing blades with him. Even though we work out literally, you know, 15 minutes later that he could, because he was only using one blade and obviously his arms have got two blades. And the second he drew his second blade, the match was over. In my opinion, the fight was over before it began, and I think in the first place the reason why Hyakkimaru was holding back is because he knew that it was the sword that was cursed, just like he knew that that was the case when Dororo was holding the sword. So he was trying to save... Was his name Onimusha? No, that was the sister's name. Did we even learn his name? I don't know. But the brother, anyway, of Onimusha, I think Hyakkimaru was assuming that if he separated him from the sword, he'd be alright. You know, he might need time to recover, obviously, but eventually he'd be okay. But obviously he didn't bank on the fact that the sword very much has a will of its own and, you know, used Dororo to make his way back to him. And that was kind of unexpected by myself and likely Hyakkimaru as well. One of the things that I thought was really good about this episode is the way it started with those really jumbled flashes. Seeing what I thought was defeated samurai, you know, bound in the way they were into a position of complete submission. And, you know, they were in the perfect position for their heads to come off, which is something that is, I don't want to say, like, historically accurate, because I'm not, like, a big history buff in that regards. I am a history buff when it comes to certain things, but I don't want to categorically state, it's well known that the samurai would behead the generals of the enemy unit after they had been defeated, or that they would commit ritual suicide, because I just know if I say that as a matter of fact, I'm going to be wrong and someone will correct me. So, I believe is the phrase I'm going to use, that was the case, which is what I thought was happening there. Which is why I couldn't understand why Maid was having so much difficulty in carrying the order out, because I was thinking, well, if they're in that sort of position, they must be the losers of the fight. I mean, yeah, it seems weird to have bound them the way they did. Like, surely you would have just done this deed during the combat, or after the combat you'd have let the general, you know, take his own life, retain some of his honor, however you want to look at it. As the episode went on, we got to see the sequence again, and oh man, did that change how I felt about that scene. The fact that those men were innocent, and that they had actually built this fortress for this lord, and simply because they knew the fortress's weaknesses because they were the ones that built it, he decided that they all needed to die. And it was kind of like, what? I mean, I'm sure that happened a lot back then, but Jesus, you know, that just is wrong on so many levels. Like, they were innocent, they were probably loyal to him, and they were rewarded with their loyalty by probably being taken from their homes and basically told that they're going to be killed, and that's that, because it's not like there was any way they could argue with them. That's not how it worked back then, especially not in those particular times of Japan. As someone said in the comment section of a previous Dororo video, is that samurai could pick a fight with literally anybody, and, you know, they were never in the wrong. That was part of the whole thing of being a samurai, is you were judge, jury, and executioner, so to speak, as and when you decided that you wished to be. And, you know, lords had even more levels of power. It's just nuts to think about how it worked. You know, in theory, the way that, you know, the Japanese society worked at the time is great on paper, but as soon as you bring people into it who don't follow the way that things should be and choose to abuse the power, then obviously it all falls apart. Which, you know, you couldn't get a better example of right here. And, you know, he threw him the rusty blade, which was just so gut-wrenching, so difficult to watch, and the sword awakening because of that moment I thought was so well executed. It was so damn creepy and so much of a gore fest once he got going. Like, he just slaughtered anything that had a heartbeat. It was great. His whole personality shifted, and any sympathy that you might have had for the Lord was immediately lost when you saw that, you know, what he was really like. And, you know, he created this monster because of his own arrogance and, you know, lack of morality, basically. There seems to be a recurring theme about who the true monsters are. You know, we had one that turned out to not be a monster. It was one of karma for the villagers who were feeding people to another demon. Hyakkimaru himself is only the way he is because of his human father making a deal to get his own personal ambitions and plans on track. There's definitely some interesting themes going on throughout this show that I really enjoy, and this episode was just another perfect addendum to those themes. And again, I love the fact that Hyakkimaru spent the beginning portion of this episode in the rain, just, you know, experiencing it. The rain, you know, on his face. The only thing I don't like is the fact that it appears that we've lost the priest, and that kind of wasn't addressed even though he was in the last episode. So I guess he's just, that's it for him. He's just gonna maybe pop up again in the future or something. I don't know, but I think he's safe to say he's not going to be a regular character, which is what I had personally hoped for. This episode was also one of the more emotional episodes. The relationship between the brother and sister was absolutely heart-wrenching. You know, she was so happy that she'd finally gotten her brother back, and she never really got her brother back. Her brother died the moment he picked up that blade and basically carried it out its wishes. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that he had a choice in the matter. Obviously, there was a demon in the blade that was very strong, but Dororo did his damn best to fight that demon. He was losing. Like, it's obvious that he couldn't fight it forever, but maybe the fact that Dororo is a child gives them an advantage, because obviously children have much higher innocent levels. In some regards, it makes some easier to corrupt, but it makes others nigh on impossible, because they won't do something no matter what you say or do. Children are, you know, can be the most representative of, you know, true innocence, true goodness. And I think that was what was helping Dororo, whereas obviously you compare that to someone who's a samurai who's fought in the war, who's probably already got blood on their hands as an adult, isn't anywhere near as black and white viewing of the world as children view it. And yeah, the demon's probably got a much easier time twisting an adult mind to its will than it would a child's mind. But it's an interesting food for thought, even if it's not the case. But that's kind of how I'm viewing what happened in this episode. But that didn't make the scene where it looked like he was about to come back to his sister any less, you know, gut-wrenching than he didn't, you know? It was one of those moments where you were like, he might still be in there, and he was clearly still in there, because he made a crane for her to stop her from crying, and obviously he was listening to her. He still remembered that, but that was kind of it. That was like the last vestiges of his old self, and once he'd done that, it was like, nah, the sword's calling to me, I gotta go, take care of yourself. And all of her other problems and issues he just wasn't interested in, even though it was obvious that from what she was saying that these two were obviously very close, and that must be so heartbreaking for her. I mean, the way she came out and begged Hyakkimaru not to kill him, and it was like, there's no other choice, you know? It has to be done, and he both killed him and broke the sword, which means that nobody else will ever have to suffer the same fate. So, yeah. And then we got that bombshell that actually this sword, or the demon that the sword is cursed by, actually is an entity that Hyakkimaru needed to defeat in order to get his hearing back. So that kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't actually expect this to be one of the demons that Hyakkimaru needed to face. I thought this was going to be just an unrelated story that happens along the way. But yeah, he now has his hearing back, so that's going to make things interesting as we go forward. He's now actually going to be able to hear and understand people. We'll have to see how that affects his personality as we go forward, won't we? Anyway guys, I think that's going to be it for me for this particular episode. Thank you very much for sticking with me to the end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave comments down below letting me know what you thought of this episode. If you're new around here, please click that subscribe button and then click the little bell icon next to it to, fingers crossed, be notified whenever I go live or I post a new video, because if you didn't know, I am doing some more live streams on YouTube now. Yes, they're games, and yes, I'm going to be playing through Resident Evil 2, or continuing playing Resident Evil 2, should I say, before I look at really doing anything else, but hopefully you guys enjoy the gaming stuff as much as you enjoy the anime stuff. Either way, as always guys, my name is Psycho Gold, and I will see you in my next video. Psycho Gold, out!